Doctoral Journey with Derrick. One thing I do want to make sure that you know is that this is a show that comes on every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we talk about issues pertaining to dissertation students, but ultimately we will evolve this conversation to the larger topic of graduate students, whether you're in a master's program, whether you're in a doctoral program. In the future, we'll talk about K-12. I have a particular project that I'm working on involving K-12 virtual learning because it appears we are never going to get out of this. So you have to at least learn how to roll with the tide. And also, we've been talking about flipped classrooms and virtual learning and blended instruction for nearly a decade now. And if you are not pretty much on par with the conversation or on par with the movement, then what's going on? So there will be projects and there will be specials talking about online and blended instruction and how K-12 teachers can become more effective in their delivery through this means. So aside from all that, it is now past 7 o'clock. We are about ready to begin. We are on Instagram Live. We're on Facebook Live. We're on I believe LinkedIn Live. We're also on, if I'm not mistaken, YouTube Live. So if you can catch us in any one of those platforms, you're good. So what I want to do today is first start out, as I always do, kind of giving shout outs to those companies, those businesses that support us. So the first one we'll shout out is, of course, Bougie Shootery. That is www.bougieshootery.com. She's on Instagram, Instagram, Facebook. She's everywhere. Also has a website, and you'll see the website if you're watching on other platforms. It's scrolling along the bottom. It is www.bougieshootery.com. In addition to that, I'd like to also give a shout out to Dr. Ramon Goings in the donedissertation.com. If you are looking to improve your work towards your dissertation, if you want to complete it in record time and also have a quality product, I suggest you check out Dr. Ramon Goings or the Done Dissertation on all major platforms from LinkedIn to Facebook and IG. You'll find him there. Just search either his name, Dr. Ramon Goings, or shop the Done Dissertation programs, and you'll be able to enjoy that luxury as you're looking to get your dissertation done in record time and also be of quality. You can get it done, but you want to get it done and also of quality. We'd also like to shout out First Gen Fly. First Gen Fly is a company that makes these shirts and also other custom apparel. They have a lot of different lines that you'll see on the website. It is www.first, that's one ST, Gen, GENFLY. Once again, firstgenfly.com. High quality shirts. You pay the right price for it, but you can also get it custom the way you need it. Another shout out to give to Conversations with Lamp. You can find them on IG. You can find James Lampkin on Facebook. You can find him on SoundCloud. Conversations with Lamp. This young gentleman was a student of mine many years ago. He's a grown man now with family, beautiful wife, children, moving along, and he conducts a great podcast talking to future and potential heavy hitters in all industries. So please join him. And of course, you can come and find out more of what I have to offer by looking up the myadvantage.org. That's www.myadvantage.org. It is a play on the word advantage in education. So my educational advantage, my advantage is how you actually work that term. So it is now going on 7:04, 7:05, and we're going to now transition this conversation into the main topic that we'll be talking about today. The topic of today is overcoming, or how to overcome, the boredom of reading research articles. How you can overcome the boredom of reading research articles. I know that your professors want you to be steeped in literature and read and know your literature on your chosen topics ad nauseum, so you can call the greats, call the seminal authors, and also talk about what's being discussed right now in this particular field of research. In order to do that, there is no shortcut. You have to read the research. You have to read the literature and scholarship on your topics. There's no way around that. There's no shortcut to this. Now, given that, some of that reading can be a little bit boring. I get it. But just because it's boring doesn't mean it doesn't have to be done. And we're going to talk about how you address the idea of boredom, how you master the idea of boredom, and how you move on to become a literature specialist today. Now, if you want more information about this, or you want a course about this, or some coaching on this, I offer that course in myadvantage.org/courses. You can see here on the open screen here where we have this. This is My Advantage. You can find more information about this in the course that we call Mastering the Literature Review. So that particular course will give you a deeper dive into what we're going to talk about today. Today is kind of the surface level of what you will get when you go deeper into that particular course or that particular coaching program, and you can get both. Just talk to me. We'll set up a time to consult, and we can move from there. Now, having said all of that, let's now get down to business. It's now 7:06, and I want to get down to business with you. So let's talk first about this idea of mastering boredom. When we're trained particularly in America, to be bored and to despise the idea of boredom. And what happens is we're in a constant need to be entertained by something. So we want the quick clips. This is why your TikToks and your Vines and all of those things are entertaining to us, because they give us a quick clip. They get right to the point. They entertain us. They take us away from our misery. They do whatever they have to do to keep us entertained, and we become accustomed to that. So much accustomed to that anything that takes a long time to do, that requires commitment, isn't exciting, we view as being boredom. So once again, if we're asking you to read research literature, and all of your professors want you to be steeped in the literature, if we're asking you to do this, then you've got to figure out and navigate how you deal with the fact that it could actually be boring. To read 30, 40 articles, 30 pages of pop, that could be boring to you. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be done. And I want to make that clear. I'm not calling research boring. But it may be boring to you if you live in a world where you constantly have to be entertained by something. If everything has to be your sweet 16th birthday, if everything has to be the Super Bowl, if everything has to be a surprise birthday party for you, then asking you to sit and read and discipline yourself to read these articles and become knowledgeable about the literature may appear to be boring. Now, there's several things I want you to think about when it comes to mastering boredom, though. The first thing is you have the idea of conquering the non-exciting, repetitive task of one's craft. I'll say that again. Conquering the non-exciting, repetitive task of your craft. In order to become good in your craft, to become knowledgeable in your craft, you have to conquer those non-exciting, repetitive tasks that you have to do. That stands between being good at something and knowing a little bit of everything. See, what happens is this. When people experience boredom, it's really a test of you. When you experience boredom, you will either continue through it and master understanding that this is something you have to do, or you'll move to the next most exciting thing. And if you fail to conquer boredom, you'll never be good at one thing. You'll spend your life kind of hopping to the next thing, almost like being on a monkey bar. You'll just monkey bar to the next thing. When it gets boring, you'll go to the next thing, and you'll continue this thing throughout your life and never really get good at anything. But if you study people who have achieved greatness, if you study people who have achieved or have self-actualized into these things, what you will discover is they spend an intense amount of time mastering the small things, mastering the things that seem boring to everyone else. People love basketball, but they don't love shooting 1,000 free throws a day or 1,000 jump shots a day from the same spot. People love the excitement that they see when Steph Curry hits a jump shot, but they don't love the practice and repetitiveness of making sure that shot arcs correctly, make sure your spotting is good, make sure your eyes are where they're supposed to be. Everything that he does to become who he is, we don't want to do. You have to conquer those non-exciting things, the things you have to do over and over and over again to get good at your task. You don't become a Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer without mastering putting 1,000 times. You just don't do it. You don't become great at these things. So what I want you to consider is that in order to become good at something, you have to conquer those non-exciting, repetitive tasks that are part of everything that you have to do to be a great at your task. Now, the second thing you need to do in mastering boredom is accept that becoming a specialist at something requires hours and hours of repetition at the small things. And you just learn to stack the repetition of small things on top of one another until they become a big thing. But the more attempts at small tasks, you create a routine in your brain where your brain begins to mold to the activity. So when you can walk around your house at night without turning the lights on and not bump into things, it's because you have mastered the routine of your whereabouts of your home. You've been around it enough to where movement and navigation you can do without thinking. So the better you become at things, the more it becomes a routine in your brain as you master these small tasks over and over and over again. And what that allows for is it allows for you to move, navigate, practice, and become great at your tasks and normalize it to where it becomes automatic. If you watch a great quarterback of their time, they almost move away from defenders without looking at the defender because they can sense where they are. They see the game so well because they've done this over and over and over and over again, that they're able to get in what we call the zone. You will often hear Michael Jordan talk about the zone, where it seems like the basket is this big and everything is in slow motion. It's regular speed for you and I. It's slow motion for him because he can think in between all of these things and then make the move. Same thing with LeBron James. Same thing with all of the greats of anybody who become great at their task. What they experience is a brain alignment where everything kind of works and they get into this zone. And what do we mean by the zone? That's the third thing. What is meant by being in the zone is a period where time doesn't matter. It's a period where everything slows down and you'll be able to move and process things naturally. It's a moment when you can actually think through things without having to think. You almost operate like a muscle memory repetitively in order to become good at this task. This is only achieved when routine is set and tasks are repeated. You don't get this doing it one or two times. You don't learn the piano playing one or two notes. You've got to bang on your craft every single day, all the time, never giving up, understanding that this is the process by which you become great. So that is mastering boredom, is conquering the non-exciting repetitive task of your craft. It is accepting that becoming a specialist as something requires hours of repetition at the small aspects. And it is to be in the zone, to get to that point where time slows down and you are still able to operate without even thinking. That is mastering boredom. And in order to be good at the craft that you are studying, you've got to master this boredom. There is no way around it. So the next thing I want to talk about, because we're talking about reading research, is your reading goals. When you sit down to read an article, a research article, are you reading it like you would a novel? Are you just looking at words? What is your goal when you are reading an article? If you want to become strategically better at this, you have to discover the goal that you want. On top of that, goal should be extracting out what the author finds or suggests is true. Every article has an author. Every peer-reviewed journal research article has an author. Your goal with this is to find out what this particular author says is true or real or suggested. These ought to be your notes. Every research article you read, you're extracting those notes. What did this author say? What do they suggest? What are they trying to prove here? You want to know that as you go into the reading, and that's your goal to come out of the reading with notes to substantiate that. Now, in order to do that, not like reading a novel, you don't have to read every aspect of the article with the same level of intensity. Remember, your goal is not to fall in love with the article like you would a great book on a beach somewhere. Your goal is to extract the information. You're going in strategically to get this information out. So you have to understand reading and skimming levels. So this next section, I'm going to provide to you 3 levels of reading or skimming that you need to master. And then where to actually do it is in the section after that. So there are 3 levels of skimming: light skim, medium skim, and heavy skim. In the light skim area, you are trying to do a quick read. You're looking for vocabulary and acronyms that may throw you off if you don't understand them later. And the reason why you're extracting that information out is precisely because if you don't see them, or don't understand them as you go through your heavy reads, they're going to throw you off, and you'll have to always go back to where at first the acronym first came up, or where the term first came up, where it was defined in the writing. So during your light skim, you're doing this quick read, and the goal is to look for the vocabulary, to look for the actual acronyms as part of this reading that you're going to bring out. Shout out to DJ Quiet Storm. Thank you for coming through, brother. Appreciate your time. The second level of skim, as we talk about these levels of reading and skimming as you're looking at research articles, the second level of skim is your medium skim. This is a medium or regular speed read. What you're looking for in this are processes. How this study or section fits. How did it come together? How this particular study works. And we'll talk about the section of an article where you'll actually apply the medium skim. But what you're looking for is how these processes and things fit. The last level of skim, which is the one that we're most concerned with, is your heavy skim. During this level of skimming, what your goal is to do a deep, slower read. Your goal here is to extract information. You're strictly going in with a mission, and that is to get out the information that the author has written, but do it in your own words. So in your notes, it's going to be your interpretation of the author's words. So you're kind of preventing yourself from this idea of stealing their ideas. You're interpreting and putting this into the work. Thank you, brother DJ Quiet Storm. Appreciate you coming through. But what you want to be able to do, what you're looking for, is to extract this information to make notes in these sections. This is where the heaviest part of your notes are going to come. So that is the 3 levels of skimming and the goals for each. They are light skim, and that's the quick read. Medium skim is the middle kind of regular read, and the deep skim is the heavy skim is a deep, slower read where the goal is to extract the information out. Now, having said that, let's think about the typical research article. The typical research article has several sections that are pretty much staples of research, right? So while we transition to that, let me take a quick drink. So parts of the typical research article are this. First, you have an introduction. Now, it won't always have the title introduction. Some just start off with the words, but you'll have the introduction. This is designed to get your attention. Also to provide a purpose and or problem of the study and perhaps some research questions. So in the introduction is designed to quickly get your attention, to entice you into the read. For this, you only need to do a light skim. In the introduction, it's often a good idea for writers, take this as you start writing, to hit us with some big data to convince us that there's a critical problem here and we should continue reading. The next part is generally background or what we may call literature review. A lot of people get lost in this particular section. This is a light skim section because literature review will only tell you what others have already said concerning the topic. Now, there is value to come from that because you see how they're supporting it, and the literature that they're quoting or citing in this particular section may help you gather more literature to go deeper on the topic. So don't just take what they said the other person said, but go grab the article of what the other people have said so that you can read those too. They'll often also link you to some seminal works that you need to have in your cadre of readings. So once again, it's a light skim. It's just going to tell you what everyone else has said. So you move from there. The next part is generally some type of framework, whether theoretical or conceptual. In this particular section, it's going to provide you the lens by which they did their work. That's all it can do. For this, a light skim is sufficient. You need to know and understand how they put together their frameworks and how their framework works, because it'll help you later on, but you don't have to get stuck there. You can do a light skim enough to understand how they set this up and how they put the lens by which you will see the work done. That's the framework. Now, the next part is your methods or methodology section. In the methods or methodology section, what they're telling you is how they conducted the study. So for this, you need a medium skim. You need to understand, particularly if you're in the early stages of your program, where you're understanding what methodologies are, you need to see how studies get set up and how they get approached. So you're looking for the approach and the design of the study and how they did it. You can learn a lot from that as far as in your writing. So you do a medium skim here, and your goal is to understand how the data was collected, how they set up the research, how all of this was done. That is your goal at this particular stage. Now we move into the heavier stuff. So in this heavier aspect, we start talking about the findings or results. In the findings or results, this is what the researchers have found. So this has to be a heavy skim. This is where you extract out what the researcher, the authors are saying. So you've got to read this with intention. So this is your heavy skim. This is your deep read. So you do that there, and then the discussion takes place after that section. In the discussion, what the authors are trying to do is connect the findings to the literature, framework, and research questions. They're either telling you where they are aligned, or they're telling you where their findings extend beyond or depart from what we've already known. This also requires a heavy skim. This is a deep read section. So you have to understand how these findings connect or depart from the literature, from the framework, from the research questions. These are important sections here. The last section, which can sometimes be confused or combined with discussion, is conclusion. There are some articles that put the discussion and conclusion together, but a conclusion generally talks about the recommendations, the implications, or the next steps of the study. And for this, you will need a heavy skim, because it's letting you know where to go next, and it's letting you know where you can go next. It's suggested that these things may not have happened yet in the research, and it opens up a window for you to maybe take your work to that place. So it is an author's nod, a passing on of the baton to the next researcher. That's what a conclusion can be. So a heavy skim is needed because that will help you project where your literature can have the impact. And the last, of course, are the references, which cites all of the sources used in this particular work, and you need to know them. So that is the typical research paper, and what I did was align how you can skim each one of those sections. The next piece is I want to talk a little bit about the types of research articles, because not every article you find is going to align with what I just gave you. They're going to depend on the journal itself and what they require. It depends on the type of research article conducted. Some articles are not conducted that way. So I want to talk about 3 general areas by which you see research articles constructed in these journals. So the first one is what we call qualitative. A qualitative article generally finds the voices of those whom they're studying. So it involves sometimes interviews, case studies, narrative researches, what we call phenomenological or ethnographic studies, where we're actually studying and observing people and we're gathering their voice. That's generally the part of a qualitative research. And of course, we can get deeper, but for now, this is what you need to know. So in this section, you will do your deep reads or heavy skims for findings, discussions, and conclusions. You will do your medium skim for the methodology, and your light skim for your intro, literature review, and framework. That's for the qualitative research. Likewise, a quantitative research paper is built up kind of like a scientific study, where they are looking for patterns in data. So they're collecting largely numerical or statistical data and testing that data to a degree. And there are many ways by which you can do it. I offer a course talking about how these research designs work. If you want to find out more information, you can check out that course. I think it's a mini course that is in the works right now. But in the quantitative section, much like the qualitative, your deep reads are going to come from the findings or results, the discussion, and the conclusion. Your medium skim is going to come from the methodology. And your light skim is going to come from your intro, lit review, and framework. I say all of that because that's the exact same thing I said for the qualitative, but I'll also say this. There are times where you may want to do a deep read of the methodology in a quantitative study, because it's how they set up the measures and how they manipulate the measures that you will need to know, because it will come up in the results. So you may want to substitute that medium skim for a deeper, heavy skim. And of course, not every research fits the qualitative or quantitative mode. There is another one, generally called a literature paper, or what we may call a theoretical paper. A literature paper is simply an analysis of research on a particular topic. A theoretical paper is an analysis of studies that either elaborate or promote a particular theoretical perspective. On these, there aren't those sections that I talked about. They're simply reserving the entire work for these sections. So you have to deep read everything. On these types of papers, you have to do a deep read on everything, and it will be to your benefit to use the headers or headings in these papers as topics within the study. Essentially, there are many things within the study, and you're going to use those headings as those themes. So you take notes according to those particular themes or sections. That is a general overview of the types of research articles you'll read, and each one requires a different level of skimming and reading intensity. So you need to know that. The last part of this, before we close out for today, we'll talk about establishing a reading routine. In order to conquer boredom, I've given you some strategies as far as how to skim, not reading the whole article like a romance novel or anything like that. But most importantly, establishing a good reading routine so that you can practice your jump shot, so that you can practice your putts, so you can practice those small aspects daily, repeatedly, to become good. So, first thing is, make room and make time for reading. Make room and make time for reading. What I mean by that is know the type of environment you need in order to be effective at reading these articles. And once you know the type of environment that you need, go about the business of creating that environment so that you can be successful with your reading. Block out the time according to your energy levels. And we'll talk about energy levels in a moment. But block time according to your energy levels. And estimate this. For one article, it should probably take you 1 hour to read and take notes, if you're following the skimming techniques that I gave you. So one article should equal about 1 hour in that time. Therefore, I suggest you block 2 to 3 hours daily for reading articles. Don't go over that. And we'll talk about the weekly kind of goals, things like that, but don't go over. Now, 2 or 3 hours can yield 2 to 3 articles, but I wouldn't suggest going to your 4th or 5th one because your energy level will decrease and the quality of what you extract will diminish. So we're doing this to extract the information. Remember the goal. The second part of establishing a reading routine is to set weekly rather than daily goals. And here's why. Setting a weekly goal allows for flexibility and off days. Let's say, for example, you commit to reading 2 articles a day. So Monday you read 2 articles, Tuesday you read 2 articles, Wednesday something really crazy happens and you don't read any. If you got daily goals, you just failed your daily goal. A weekly goal, however, is saying I'm going to read 14 to 18 articles per week. Now, Monday you read 2, Tuesday you read 2, Wednesday you read 2, Thursday you don't get to read any, it was a crazy day. So Friday you read 3, Saturday you read 3, you're back on track. Sunday you read 3 or 4. Now you've met your goal. And you didn't have to sacrifice anything because you had a bad day. So you don't lose if you make weekly goals. Try not to exceed 3 articles in a day. And once again, the reason why is the quality of what you extract from the 4th article may be diminished because you're tired. So get yourself in that discipline of 2 to 3 articles a day, no more than 3. The next part of this, of course, is in all of this planning and work and things like that, plan according to your energy levels. You know what time of day you have your highest energy and what time of day you have your lowest energy. And there are activities you can do according to those energy levels. So when you have what we call a low energy day or low energy times of day, do low energy activities. A low energy activity can be gathering articles. It can be planning which articles to read the next day. And it can be entering your references on your reference page. You should keep a running reference page of the articles that you're reading. Trust me, it helps. So you don't have to do this on the back end. And of course, reviewing previous notes. All of these things in preparation for your high energy activity. So you can, once again, gather articles, plan articles that you're going to read, enter your references on a reference page, review previous notes. All of those are low energy activities. It doesn't require a lot. Just go ahead and get them done. And then your high energy activities, those moments of the day when you have the most energy and you can block out time, because I realize most of you have jobs, so it's hard to, when you're high energy, you're at work, it's going to be hard to do. But if you are able to maximize a high energy moment at a time when you're not working, you can block the time out. I suggest you engage in high energy activities, and those are reading, as we advised before, note taking while you're reading or immediately after you're reading, writing. Those are high energy activities because they can drain you the most. Now, if you don't master this routine of low energy and high energy, you could get them mixed up and they could throw you off. So if you don't do your low energy activities, then you're going to do them at the very beginning of your high energy moments. And they're going to drain your energy because energy doesn't care about the load. Energy is going to start depleting. So by the time you get to the high energy activities, you have nothing left. So master your low energy activities during low energy times and your high energy activities during high energy times. Once you do that, then you're planning and reading and acting according to your energy levels. You can knock out those articles during the day. You can establish a routine that you can stick with. And you can learn how to strategically go in and extract the information that you need from the article. It doesn't become as boring. So I want you to think about that. It's boring if you try to read everything with the same level of energy. It's boring if you treat this like it's a novel. You got to know every word from the beginning to the end. But if you're strategic about how you read, you know how to go in and get what you need, extract the information out. And once you get into the habit of doing this every day, repetitively completing it until it's automatic, until you are built the brain to where you can navigate this thing through and it seems like time stands still as you're moving at fast speeds. When you do that, you can conquer the boredom of reading these research articles. You want to be great, you have to accept that boredom is real. You have to agree that it exists and you can conquer it. And you don't conquer it by running away and doing something next. I don't want you to quit your doctoral program and decide to go into construction or decide to rap or something like that. Stop quitting things too early. And that's what boredom does. Boredom makes us quit early. So stop that. Recognize that it's real. Dive headfirst into it. Be strategic about how you approach it, and then get it done. All else said, most important thing is if you want this, you want to be great, you got to get it done. That's all I have for this session. We'll go deeper into the next session, but all of this information is found in Mastering the Literature Reviews on the course page of myadvantage.org. You can go to that website, myadvantage.org, go to courses or online courses. You'll see the courses thing. You'll see it looks like this here. And you'll be able to go in and click on Mastering the Literature Review. You can select it as a course. If you would like it as coaching, I can also do a 90-day coaching in which you'll also get access to the course materials, but you'll also get access to me as an instructor, helping you navigate through this process, kind of giving you the push that you may need in order to master or conquer this boredom and then get the work done. And also because my courses offer a skill. You'll have a skill that you can carry forward in all of your future endeavors. So you can work this process, this strategy, that you can use this repeatedly over time and make all of this easy enough for you to become a literature specialist. So it's what I do, it's what I teach, it's what I've sacrificed a lot to get done. But this is the work. Once again, My Advantage, www.myadvantage.org. You can go to online courses, check that out, or you can go to the coaching, set up a consultation with me, and we can see what we can work out. We can talk about best strategies moving forward. Some of you may need a class, majority of you may need coaching. So if you need what you need, we can figure that out and get you on your way. It's worth it, and you'll walk away with the skill. I can guarantee you that. With that said, I'm going to check out, and I will see you guys next week.